Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Celestial Intersections Radio live here on Blog Talk Radio, powered by eastrologer.tv. I'm Ernesto, and I'm your host. I'll be with you here for the next hour. And I'm here with Veretta. We will be giving away some free live Uranian astrology and psychic mediumship readings for everybody. We'll be here. The show is scheduled for 90 minutes, and that's just more of a stream thing because sometimes we go over when in high traffic times. But the show's scheduled actually until 11. That's kind of what we're here until. So it'll be for the next hour or so. If you're watching live, be sure to give us a call here on the show directly. We're not paying attention to any of our other chat platforms or outlets where you may be picking up the show. So just give us a call here on the show. That's going to be at area code 319 527 6071, and we can get you taken care of here. And then also remember that we do need, or at least I do, I need your exact birth time, which is found on your birth certificate in case you didn't know that. Or if you were born in England, and I'm so sorry, they don't document birth time, in which case it's kind of a nightmare for me. So we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But please give us a call here on the show. We'll be here for the next hour or so. Now, Veretta, well, while we're waiting for everybody to kind of get in right now, what is it that we need to know over this next week?
Um, okay, over the next week, we have a little bit of, I don't know, I want to say epiphany style energy about to come. As we start to wrap up February and ramp up March, there for some people can be some really big aha moments. And it feels to me like you're going to take, well, obviously you're going to take away from it what you will, but it feels to me like you're going to take more of a spiritual look or get more of a spiritual higher dimension idea of what you're here for, what we're on planet Earth for. And it feels to me also very similar to, the style of wake up call that you get when you've been in the clouds or you've had a fog or you just didn't know what was going on, and all of a sudden the answer was given to you. So this next week is really going to pertain to a lot of people's understanding about why they're here on Earth, what their lessons are, how maybe they could incorporate those lessons into daily life or learn from those lessons in a manner that it benefits them. The flip side to that is they're also going to see some pretty profound moments of what they've done in the past and why that probably wasn't the right answer all along. So there may be a lot of thinking in the manner of changing your relationship to your higher source, to spirituality, to God, if you will, and allow themselves to kind of get on with the program of learning, even if it's dysfunctionally, from those lessons that we get in life. Because some of those lessons don't always come, we get lessons from good and bad. It doesn't always come in the manner of beating you over the head and telling you, I'm a lesson, you better learn me. They can be very subtle. They can be very, under the radar, low score, so much so that you didn't realize that was a lesson when you had the chance to learn from it. So a lot of epiphany style awareness will come in the reality of people and how they live and how they see life and how they treat other people. And it may be bad. It may be bad for some people that realize, oh man, I messed up. I really don't want to be seen like that. I don't want to be looked at like that individual. And they'll start to amend or change situations in their life that really don't benefit them in a higher realm or in the long run. That's it in the capsule.
Well, just to add to that for a second, let me show you my display. So I'm looking at some stuff out in the world, like one of the things that when we look at like a mundane chart in Uranian astrology, all of this faster moving stuff, like I'm going to put big fat dots on this so that way, like the things that we can avoid or ignore in the chart. Here we go. So not quite, that's not the shape I'm looking for, but if we do like, let's say this, we don't want this. No, let's just try that again. All right, we don't want this. We don't want that, or this, or that. So all of these big red dots that I'm throwing up on the chart right now, like we ignore these, we avoid these. And what's interesting is that in horrible scope astrology, in that landscape, like I'm a Sagittarius kind of thing, they love to look at all of that fast moving stuff because it changes every single week. And because it's open to so much interpretation, you can write something that's meant for millions of people that's really super generic. We don't really do that here, so we avoid that conversation. But all of those dots, like if we throw that out and we look at all of this really slow moving stuff here in the chart, like this is the stuff that's affecting everybody on the planet. This is the stuff that we can speak to. These are the major trends and themes that are going on right now. So Loretta, as you're saying that, like that people are going to have like these big aha moments. So aha, when I hear that, that's the key word there is like epiphany, awakening, like what is that somewhere in there? And if we look at where I just was in this rule book, let me clear that up here on the screen here for you. I was looking at the definition, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, which is worrying about, I'm right here, worrying about money matters, separation caused by sickness, awakening from carelessness. This is going to be, I think, a big theme, and losses through speculation. So when we talk about awakening from carelessness, that's the big thing. That's the takeaway that we want from that definition here. So when we go back to our chart now, then we see the planets that I have highlighted. And this should be a little bit easier. I'll draw some squares here for those of you who have some color issues. That's going to be having to do with Neptune and Jupiter. And then because this Saturn sits right here at that 11 1/4 dot right there, that means that this is going to have a pretty big impact on what's going on at this midpoint. And this is going to be out in the world. So this will affect everybody right now. So this is a major theme. So if you in your chart have, these three planets that are being highlighted right now, Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn, then yeah, this is definitely going to be a time when you're awakened from carelessness and that general feeling or sense that we have in the world, which is really, I think, the biggest epidemic of all, lack of personal accountability. That this is something that should slowly start to be fading by the wayside, or we should hope anyway. But if people, still want to be little snowflakes about it, then they can expect a world of hurt, sort of what you were referring to. So it's interesting when you say that, an aha moment that's actually confirmed in the world chart. So this is a major theme that everybody will be dealing with right now.
Yeah. And it's always amazing that you can find that in there, but it really will be a big deal where a lot of people, just float through their day. They, like you said, don't really take accountability, or they're not aware of what's happening around them. And the masses are going to wake up here very shortly.
One of the primary pillars in like Gestalt mode counseling is extreme personal accountability. Like you just learn to take responsibility for your actions, and if you don't, your counselor has failed you. I'm sorry. So when you're learning to do these kinds of things in life, you really learn that there is a black and there is a white, and there is nothing in between. I either did this or I didn't. I either followed through or I didn't. Those are the only options. And, trying to deflect responsibility, which is something that we all like to do, as opposed to saying, no, I didn't do that. We try to deflect or redirect the conversation into some other new thing to avoid guilt, because we don't like to say these awful things. It leaves a bad taste in our mouth that we were lazy and that we didn't do that thing that we needed to. So, that's become more and more endemic in the world, and everybody is just dealing with it, and it's really super frustrating. But hopefully, people start waking up from it, because when you don't, if you can't wake up, oh yeah, I didn't hit that old lady when I was crossing the street, there's going to be consequences for that. Perhaps not in the immediate right now, but remember, karma is an existential experience. So you may not experience the effects in this lifetime, but your soul will definitely know what happened in the future.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, one of the things that I have been working on this past week is learning how to pay attention to my own urges. Like I have this really bad issue where I see something and I want it, like that new puppy in the window, or, like I see an ad for something and I say, oh, I have to have this, and I buy it. Or it's a service, with somebody or whatever it is. And then when I do it, I realize, oh, that was really disappointing. This is not what I wanted it to be. It didn't turn out like I wanted it to. Like I recently had some professional photos done because I thought that, oh, I need to get this done. Like it would be helpful for my website and for my career and that kind of stuff to get some photos. So I went to a portrait studio and got this all done. I was immensely disappointed with the way they turned out, but that's me, body dysmorphia. We won't get into the fact that I don't see myself in the camera kind of thing. So I ended up paying for the service. I had a great experience, so I can't fault them for that. I didn't report a chargeback for fraud because I definitely did get what I ordered. So I'm not going to be that consumer, right? But I just wasn't terribly happy with what I got as a result. But that was more of a me thing. So when all was said and done, I ended up spending this money on this thing that I think I wanted. But you know what I ended up doing? What actually resolved the problem? I just took pictures here on my webcam at home at my desk. That did not cost me all but 25 cents maybe for a glass of water, nothing fancy. And so I've been learning recently, just because you see it doesn't mean you have to have it. And that's been a big thing for me, and I think it is for a lot of people, especially in this economy when things are kind of not looking great at the moment. And the other thing for me that I've really been learning also is that just because you have an itch doesn't mean you have to scratch it. And that refers to whatever poison or thing in my life that I think that I need to do right now. It's really all just a request. It doesn't matter. I'm very satisfied. I don't need more cookies. It's that kind of a thing. So it's really about finding, the comfort through I guess the tension of not really feeling different. This is something that I'm not used to. That I have that if I eat less, then I get fuller faster. This is a new experience for me. But so I cut myself off, and then I say, now what am I gonna? Now what the heck am I gonna do for the next 10 minutes? So these have all been experiences that I think we can all relate to, and learning how to just get better at these types of really small things in life. That patience factor, that really does help us with a lot of what's about to come down the turnpike, because there are some really big sweeping changes that we can expect, but it's all really super slow moving. It's like climate change. We don't really know the full effects of climate change until it all happens, and until everything starts falling down, and then we realize, oh, that was a really bad mistake. We probably should have fixed that a while ago.
Yeah. Well, and Sue, the overlying expectation is how we get disappointed. And expectation is a bitch when it comes to really thinking what we're going to get and what we receive are two different things. And that applies all across the board to, merchandise, material, marketing, people, our life, where we live, what we do, what we eat, the whole 9 yards. If we learn to stop expecting something specific, then the reward will be exponential in what we actually receive, because, wow, I didn't expect anything, but this is great. And again, it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary issue. It can be life in general. Expectation is a bitch when you really want to receive something specific or have the outcome that we desire or adore, and we don't get it. And it really can deflate a person in trying or wanting more, or it just throws them right into victim mentality, and they can't climb above that. So it's interesting that people would place their values on expectation, place their life values, place their ideology on what they would expect to receive. And that expectation comes from many levels. Can be entitlement issues, can be grandiose thinking, can be so many things. And the reality of it is that the mere fact that we expected something specific is how we failed ourselves. And when we don't receive what we want to get, then we're defeated. And that really can level people with some pretty low blow kind of mentality, so that they don't even want to try anymore and pick themselves back up. And they're the generation of individuals that expect to receive something specific. They are the ones that are troubling to people like us, because they want more than what they should get. They want more than what we want to give, and they demand it. They don't let people know where they're at. They expect it from the very beginning, and they tell you as such. And so those are things that we want to watch out for when we run into that expectation mentality, is really how far we're willing to go to try to meet those expectations, whether they're our own or someone else's. And that's where we get into trouble. It didn't work like I wanted it this time. Maybe I'll keep trying again. I'll keep trying again. I'll keep trying again. And the expectation is that even though you tried it 150 times before, maybe this one time is going to be different. And it's a killer all the way around.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that, like these people who keep demanding more and more, especially for you and me, for people who work in spirituality and, like life coaching kinds of personal consulting types of services, what happens is they demand so much of us because it's like, oh, look at me, I need help. I want what I want what but I want a deep discount that's going to be that I basically don't have to pay for, and I'm going to abuse you and use you for all of your time and distract you with all of this nonsense, and then I'm going to talk trash behind your back when we're done because that's just the kind of person that I am. These people do it every single time. And they try to convince you that you're a bad person because, you're not living a spiritual lifestyle since you don't want to listen to them and buy into that BS. It's like, no, you're not paying me. Like if you want me to be your friend, then you need to pay $2.50 an hour. That's just the way that works. I don't have time for crybabies. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. And those people are definitely people you just want to sidestep and look out for. And like you said, if you want me to be your friend because you're going to treat me at that level, then it's going to cost you. I want more because I don't want to end in the long run being the one that was deceived.
Yeah, for sure. So this is why anybody who works in this industry, that we have to protect ourselves, because there are wackos everywhere. There's all kinds of people who just don't get it, and I don't mean wacko in like a defensive or derogatory way. It's just ignorance, really. Like that, I would hate to work as a photographer. That would be the worst profession to be in, or to work in law. Do you have any idea how many times people would just always hit you up for do my free wedding photos? It's like, no, that's $6,000. It's like, would you represent me in my case? No, I don't even work your type of law. Like it would just be so annoying to be overwhelmed like that. Like when it comes to the future, in 20 years, and you and I are world-renowned experts, and it's just going to be like, tell me my future. It's like, no, pay us because we're tired, we're old, we have to focus on enjoying our lives, and that's a job. Don't make us do that.
I've been in that position, Ernesto, believe it or not. 20 years ago, when I was in a position of rebranding myself and starting into this field in a different demeanor professionally, I can't even remember, I think I was looking at an office space that I wanted to rent, and the guy that owned the building said, oh, we got around to what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a professional medium. And he looked at me and he got this like half grin, and he says, well, what can you tell me about myself? And for a split second, my mind went, oh, crap. All right, tune in and see what you get. And immediately I said, yeah, no, I don't do that. I'm not a side and pony show. If you want that information, then we'll set a session. We'll set a time for a session, and I'll do it. But right then, I realized that needed to be my response to people that hit me up with, well, you're that, ha, ha, ha. Tell me what you get. Well, I'll tell you right now, you're an a-hole. How's that sound? And I didn't ever, after that, entertain the thought of giving away what I can do, even though it doesn't cost me anything. And to them, they think it should be free because it doesn't cost me anything. The reality of it is it's still work. When I tune into that zone, because I'm professional enough to know how to shut it off and live my life like anybody else can, I am working, and I don't want to see it as anything less than tapping into divine and working for spirit. And so I am very comfortable when people say, what do you get from me? Or what can you tell me about myself? Or all these things that I've been hit up over these years of being a professional medium. I just let it go because those people are out there. They're most definitely wanting to get, what they can see and whatever. Now, there are a couple of times I will say I have been told by spirit, entertain that thought and go for it. And I have, and 2 or 3 of those people, one specifically was a Phoenix police detective, and they were very, skeptical, to say the least. And whatever it was I blurted out to them in that few 5 minutes of show was enough to get them hooked. And they extended their lunch period and they talked with me on a paid basis for the next hour and a half. And I've been friends with them ever since. And I don't see that as an imposition, because God led me to know that that was one of the times that I needed to accept my rule in a matter of it applies to everybody but this person. So, when I'm driven by spirit to listen, and I know at this point in time in my life that I am idiot if I don't listen and adhere to what I receive, then I'm missing opportunities. And I know that for a fact. So I'm very flexible in my ability to say, yeah, no, I don't do that. I'm not a side and pony show. Sorry, this isn't the circus. The reality of it is, there may be one or two times where I'm told, yep, go ahead and go the extra length and give them what they need, because at this point, it's not going to hurt you and it might benefit you in the long run. So I get that there are people out there, again, we're talking about expectation, that want to see things, and where we're concerned specifically, or me, whether I'm real or authentic or not, it's just not worth it to me to have to beg them to believe me, because honestly, I don't live in that life. If you know who I am and you want my abilities, then, like you said, you pay me and I give them to you, and we're all good. No harm, no foul.
It's pretty straightforward, and then so many people don't get that. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to move off to our phone lines, and we're going to get to area code 734. Hi, you're on Celestial Intersections Radio. Angela, is that you?
Hi, this is Angela.
Angela, perfect. All right, great. So, Veretta, hey, Angela's a longtime friend of mine here of the show. She caught me way back in our old brand, in like some really dark times. So, I'm really happy that she gave us a call today. And she has a work question. Do you see a new job in her future? That's the general question.
Angela. All righty. Hello, Angela.
Hi.
Let's see. Get immediately, yes and no. Yes, you'll have an opportunity. It might not be what you want. So no, you might not take it or fit for you once you receive it. That's right now. That's in this time frame. Now, when I branch out and I ask, well, is there ever going to be a time when she gets? Yes, most definitely. But it's not probably for 3 or 4 months or so. I get that there are the opportunities that you have in the making may even come from what you're going to be offered right away, but it's not a necessity that you take those jobs. If you can be flexible for the 3 to 4 months, then after that time frame, you'll get a big gleaming sign that says go here. And I want to feel like I need to tell you it will be something that you do solo. I don't know what that means, but I feel like it won't be something that you do with someone else or someone you know, or as a partner in a relationship. It'll be something you do on your own. And from that perspective, this job will branch out and be a phenomenal experience for you, pardon the pun, because it'll bring you so much, it'll tap your assets, and it'll bring you so much experience that you will grow, or you will glean information that you haven't had yet. Now, if you're going to ask me what the occupation is, I'm not getting. So I feel like it'll allow you room to travel. It'll allow you room to. Well, it'll allow you room to see things you haven't seen before, but it'll put you in a perspective of understanding things that you may not have right now under your belt. So it may be a new career to you, but it's going to tap your old skill set. So branch out into, I don't know, I want to say it's going to create a need for you to do a lot of fact finding. And get a lot of information about things, and then transfer that on into research or for someone else, or I don't know. But it looks to me like you're learning as you go. You've got a big grin on your face, and you're traveling to whatever that may need you to do to that extent. Although I don't hear that you necessarily would have to move, I hear that maybe at some point eventually it would benefit you to do such. So Ernesto's got your chart up. Let's see what he can find that corresponds to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Angela, so I know the last time we talked, which was a while ago, you were sort of in a similar predicament. Did you ever resolve that last year?
Well, my concern was last year that I was concerned I was going to lose my job. Everybody got laid off. So my current career field is I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep, but my ultimate goal is to have my own supplement company. But of course, I need a job to get that going, and I'm real close. Like last year, I got my LLC, but now I just need the funds to get it to go. So that's my ultimate goal.
Okay, so I feel like that a business at this exact moment in time would be a drain. It would cause more damage than it's worth good. So what I can say about that, like the solo thing that Beretta's referring to, like 3 to 6 months down the road, that's probably looking more like, I want to say 6 to 12 months down the road. So like more like by the end of the year, you're going to have more information. And I think that it's going to be specifically about the financing, of a health company that you're going to be looking at.
Okay.
And so that's going to give you the ability to, be your own entrepreneur and to make all of that happen. But that won't be until the end of the year. As far as the imminent future, like that job issue, I see you taking jobs that you don't want to take, like it's just, this is really unpleasant. This sucks, like I'm overqualified for this. This is beneath me. These are going to be the types of positions that you're going to encounter. But, these are also the kinds of jobs that you're going to have to do, like as I'm sure you're aware. So,
Right.
it's going to be unpleasant stuff. And so the advice here then is find the job, the work environment through Glassdoor reviews or Reddit forums, however you find the information, find the companies that are the least terrible, like you want, it's basically like, picking in a political election, who is not the worst of the worst, like who is that person, who is that company in your case. So, and I don't mean,
Right.
like that they're going to be evil and horrible. They're just jobs that you don't want because you're over it, like you're just ready to move on. You're burnt out. You want to do your own thing now. And so I think
Right.
this is the final stretch. So you just have a little bit more to do with this, and those jobs are going to give you the money you need to survive. But yeah, the financing for your company, that's going to be later on in the year.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Veretta, is there
Appreciate
anything else that you wanted to add?
No, everything you said makes sense to what I had seen. I think in the 3 to 4 month period is where she's going to get the tidbits of information that she needs to go ahead and make that do her business solo final. So it may be the 6 to 12 months it's going to take it to get to that ability, but she's got a 3 or 4 month mark where something's going to come in she wants to be aware of.
Yeah, I want to say it's going to be like the early to late summer. So like the summer season, that's going to be like a hot period for jobbing. So keep that open. And then over, the remainder of the spring, then you're really going to want to polish up your resume and all of that stuff. You apparently, I found out that whole Chat GPT, remember that whole AI bot like nonsense debacle that went on recently? Turns out that automated system is really helpful for doing things like writing cover letters. So that's one actual use of that thing. If you hate cover letters, which I do, I would absolutely look into that for myself. But if that's something you struggle with, apparently it's really good for that, and it's not breaking any kinds of rules. So it's very widely accepted.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Okay, well, Angela, was there anything else that you had a question for us today, or did that mostly cover it?
Yes, that was really it. So, like if I don't get a pharmaceutical job, then I might do a work from home job just to have some money. And then of course, work from home job is not going to make as much money as a pharmaceutical job. So yes, if I did get a work from home job, then it would be until the end of the year before I could really get my business going.
Okay. Yeah, the work from home job, I feel like that. I feel like you're going to be working for a company, and it's probably going to be, like a lot of the same pharma companies that you've done in the past. So that's where you're gonna.
Mhm.
That's what you should look for. Work from home is an option, but I feel like that's probably going to cause more problems than what it's worth. Like upfront expenses and just the time involved to find that type of position, because they're really sort of a holy grail anymore. So to find a good one,
Mhm.
because there's a million and one scams. So also be aware of scams in that regard if that's something you're interested in, because this is a hot time for you to get ripped off. So make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll be careful. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, for sure. Well, Angela, it was
I
great
appreciate
to have
y'all's
you on the
time.
show. It's been your first time, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share,
Yeah.
and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care, and until next time. Okay, all right. Beretta, so are you still there with me? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
I'm
So,
here.
Angela's a great example of, what a lot of people are going to be going through in the next year or so, is that, like our work situations are really going to be shaken up and those kinds of things. So, like the advice here is do what brings you joy. Like that's really always the takeaway from this, because this is going to be something that's going to be a mass issue across the world, is that people are going to be unemployed and not doing what they want to
Yeah.
be doing, and that kind of thing. Like when I feel immensely crushed by boredom and I just can't handle it anymore, I focus on other things. Like I do screenwriting, or work on writing my textbook. Like there's never really a reason for me to be bored, but what helps me to pass the time the best is when I do the things that I really love. So, like for Angela, who's, kind of in this transitionary period where we're not really too sure what's happening, but I know there's going to be a big change. It's just not at this exact moment. Like do your knitting work, or, whatever you're cooking, or whatever it is that you like, that you enjoy, that you could use to kind of take your mind off things. That's where you're going to find, your happy space. And I think that that's
Right.
something that we're really all going to have to focus on, fine tuning over this next year is, what does that happy space for me actually look like? Because a lot of us out there, don't really know ourselves in that kind of a sense. So this is something that we have to explore for ourselves. And that self-exploration, there really is a lot to be said for it, because it just helps it helps us to unlock, those things that we can't see right now.
Well, and we have to work on it in such a manner that when we see those things we can't see, we have to understand they're there for a reason. So if you don't like what you see, then you can change it. No, you're not a victim of your situation. No, you're not a victim of your past. No, you're not a victim, period, unless that's what you want to be. Now, don't get crazy out there with people saying, oh my God, you don't understand. How can you say that? I'm in such a situation. I get it. But you're there for a reason. Learn from it. Learn from that aspect of where you're at, and if you don't like it, improve it. If you can't improve it, change it. If you can't change it, understand why you're in it. And
Well, okay,
honestly,
wait. I
yeah,
have to stop you right there. That what you just described, that process, is the exact opposite of the narcissist prayer.
yeah. Right? Most definitely. Well, and, so what we are also finding in the psychological world is that the narcissism trait and the tendency is widespread beyond narcissism. It doesn't necessarily, just because you take care of yourself, or you stand up for yourself, or, you want to better your situation, it doesn't mean that you're not a narcissist. The reality of that is you can learn as a narcissist what to do to control the situation, and not only take care of yourself, but take care of others if you want. And that's the key. If you want, if it's worth it to you enough to try to change your outlook and your aspect of living, then you can. And that's all there is to that. And you're right, it is not the tenet of narcissism. But we can find narcissistic traits in just about anybody that is capable of standing up for themselves and saying, nope, that isn't going to work for me. And I'm not even going to tell you why it isn't. It just isn't. So we can find that in a lot of aspects of people in our reality all across the globe. But the real true narcissist individual isn't going to stop hearing anybody that says stop, or they aren't going to go in any direction someone tells them to go unless that's what they want it to be. And we need to learn from that. The rest of us need to learn from that, not take it to the narcissistic extreme, but understand we have just as much right to stand up and say no as they do. We have just as much right as anyone else to stand up and say, this is not what I want it to be. And just as they do, we can change our life, our lifestyle, or at least our mentality of it at any moment if we choose to.
Well, and I had this experience over the past week that there's a fine line, there's a real distinction that one thing that narcissistic people will agree to is that also they may not agree in these exact terms, but the quest for self-righteousness is exhausting. I honestly don't know how they keep up with it. But really, that's what it's about. I am right. That's a huge pillar of that we work with. In those types of personalities or people. So there becomes a real fine distinction. That I am right. The self-righteousness piece, and then Veretta. You and I have talked about this. In family experiences. Or get-togethers that suddenly we are the big bad wolf when we speak out that. About what Uncle Chester is really doing behind the scenes kind of thing. That there's some creepy stuff going on, or we try to hold people's feet to the fire, and then we're immediately villainized, and that, that they hate us because we're bad people because we don't want to let them do evil things, so it's not that we're self-righteous people or that we're narcissists. It's just, just don't do that, that's just common logic kind of stuff that you just don't do.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. When we bring out the truth in a situation that has been hidden, or in a family for generations that's been conditioned to keep your mouth shut, then we are the bad guy. And to that I say, carry on, bad guy, because honestly, no truth will ever be shed until someone steps up and says, okay, this isn't right, and people need to see that it isn't right, and we need to acknowledge it. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with generations of stuff, those people aren't going to come clean, and they're not going to see the truth. And no matter how right you are, you're going to, like you said, be villainized. But the reality of it is you need to decide how far you want to take it. Do you want to push back like they're pushing you, or do you want to walk away and call it good and know that family trait or the heritage that you've come from is not okay, it's toxic, and you need to walk away and leave it alone.
Yeah, and and the other thing too is that everybody needs to be aware that that type of behavior is never okay. It's just not, and I say this very lovingly because I actively do this when I am vetting people to work with, whether if that's, a class or a student situation or however that works with this astrology. You get vetted quite heavily, not as a client, as somebody who wants to work with me. Because, I need to make sure that you're going to do this with the utmost respect. You're not going to screw around with it, and you're going to understand that these are the rules. We do things very differently over here, and there's a reason for that. A lot of people don't understand that. They want to do I'm a Scorpio, so this is why I'm a bitch kind of stuff. We don't buy into that. So, I will absolutely shred you to pieces to make sure that you can stand, a battering ram. Because if you can, then we're probably a good fit, that I know that you're not going to screw around, that we're going to work together. That's just a test that I go through. And snowflake people absolutely can't handle it. They fall apart every time. So that's one of the reasons why you get this front with me from time to time is that, the vetting process is to make sure that, the thugs and the snowflakes go away. And it really does work. But, I'm aware at no point is it ever okay in this process to be like this, to be so blunt and so direct. I could probably ease up the gas maybe about 2 or 3 notches because I really go for roadkill for the most part, and it's just not, it doesn't need to be that extreme. But I just want everybody to know, like, if you feel like that you're just being bullied or heckled, or somebody's really being hard over the top with you, walk away, defeat yourself. It's not worth it. Like, if I'm telling you in advance I'm going to do this to you, and I'm being a hard ass, at least you're made aware of it. But still, that's not okay. Like, nobody should have to put up with that type of treatment. So why do I do it? To protect myself, to make sure that I don't deal with idiots who are going to waste my time. And you know what? It works. So that's why I do it.
Right. And my ability as an empath allows me to know the inside. I don't need to grill an individual to know the character that I'm working with. But there are also sometimes where I see that I may need, or I may want, or there's an experience coming down the road that I have to have that makes me that puts me in a position to have a relationship or interact with somebody that's toxic. But I also know in that moment that it's temporary. However long it's going to last, it's temporary. So don't sell the farm and feel like this person's in my life forever, because they may not be. And like you said, your grilling of a person can send them skittering. And like you said, hold their feet to a fire personality sends them skittering, because I can call them out in a heartbeat. I love skeptics. When I sit in circles and I can feel that there are skeptics among those individuals, I have ball with those individuals, because really they don't expect me to know anything. They don't expect me to be able to pull the truth out of thin air and throw it in their face. And therefore, they're shocked at those moments. And I rarely ever see them again, because they don't like being exposed like that, especially in a circle. But
and then they say that you're a witch behind your back.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. And that goes with the territory for me, because I am, like we're talking about, I am capable at this point of standing up and saying, that's not going to work for me, or you really shouldn't be included, or know that I'm not going to go down that path. That may work for you, but it doesn't work for me. Absolutely, I'm called a bitch behind my back, and I feel that, because I can feel like, as an empath, again, I'm saying I understand what other people's emotions are. I can feel that being directed at me, and so I have to bubble up. I have to stay protected. Even in my own home, if I'm going to tap out and allow other people to hurt me, then it would. I feel that. But with the empath ability and understanding what emotions are, and also having a degree in psychology, it lets me know a little bit more about that characteristic of person and their personal values, how they see themselves or what they think they are. And I can do a little sidestepping or protect myself for the time and the moment I'm needing to be in their presence.
We are going to catch up with Dion here. She has been listening with us for a while, and I know she had some issues the last time we caught up with her. Hey, Dion, are you there with us? Can you hear us right now?
Hi. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So earlier when Bernetta was talking about her abilities, and it doesn't cost her anything, I immediately went to the term psychic vampire, because it does cost you your energy. And it may not be money like currency, but it's still energy. Like, money would be in exchange of energy as far as compensation, but it does cost you energy. And so energy suckers want things, like I called in the show to listen, to support, but at the same time mindful of your energy. And, just let you know, like, hey, I'm just listening to your show to support your show, to learn from your show. And also just to say, like, you're very valuable in the gifts that you have, and they're coveted. And you do have a right to, charge and things like that. And it was interesting what Ernesto said was like, oh, years from now, we're going to be retired. Mm-hmm. And you were saying, like, we're going to be retired. We're not going to want to deal with stuff like that. And it's true, because like, and that's part of the learning curve, right? Of maturity is to know what your worth is and to just, piggyback off of that. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. And Dion, so just so you know, it's Veretta and not Vernetta. I get that all the time, so no biggie.
Sorry,
and the reality of it is no problem. I learned, so I had a client sit down across the table at me, and I felt very self-conscious. And I had a little bit of a friendship rapport going on with him, and I must have said something to him about raising my prices, and he said, hey, you know what, don't worry about it. Trademan's only worth their hire. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, yeah, I guess if I'm going to raise my price, I am worth that, so there's no reason why I shouldn't. And also in my experience, the energy vampires, I can see them coming a mile away. Most of the time, that's not something that I worry so much about. When I tune into spirit, it is nothing more than a difference of reflection on how I see, and I don't mean with my two eyeballs. So when I work, I'm not drained because it's not me. It's coming from me or through me, but it's not me. Therefore, I'm not giving up my energy. And I do believe in equal energy exchange. I do believe that when I give something out, I need to receive in return to create balance. Now, it does not mean that it might be from that individual. It may be that I'm putting it in a pay-it-forward bank, and I know I'll get it back at some point in the future. And it may be simple. It may be as simple as opening a door from somebody and having them smile at me. That's equal energy exchange right there, because that was an authentic move on their part, which meant I was benefiting from the smile that I received. The other thing about that is I also won't put up with people that want to use me, but I also ask Spirit immediately when I recognize these individuals, is there a point for them in my life? Am I supposed to be doing something with this? And if I receive a yes, then I see it through. I keep going. And the other thing that I have always, one of the things my teacher taught me 150 years ago was when you're running energy as a healer, like a water through hose, it can't help but get wet. When it runs water through it, it can't help but get wet. So when I'm running energy, I benefit from it. I can't help but receive energy that benefits me psychically, spiritually, and physically. So I don't have a problem opening up to those people that are truly in need and I feel want something, or not want something, but should have something in that moment. So psychic vampires are absolutely real, and those are the ones that will text me. Those are the ones, and I give an open path to people when I give sessions, especially if it's someone for the first time or it's a very intense situation. I tell them, okay, you're probably going to have questions the minute we hang up. So don't hesitate in asking me those one or two questions, and I'll answer you free. It doesn't matter. I'll text you back and give you an answer, unless it's a book type of question, and then you're going to have to book another session. And because reality is I know how that works when I give readings. So much information comes through at one time that there are going to be questions later. And so I just extend that as part of my session, and rate. And I appreciate you, Dion, when you say you're very mindful of our energy and you just call to listen, because I do feel that extra energy in there. I do feel the benefit of the energy being given, and I appreciate that you offer it without us asking you. And so it is nice every once in a while for people like you to give us that perk and help us receive the energy that we need to continue to go on, making this show and wanting to be here and doing it open-heartedly, and hopefully helping other people receive, just by what we're saying, something that they're missing, and they can offer it to others and it's paid forward down the line. So thank you so much for your comments, Dion. So appreciative of that.
Oh, you're welcome. I really enjoy it. And you are a very good medium, by the way. I listen to a lot of blog talk shows, and I've been listening to blog talk shows probably since, like, I don't know, let's say like 2015, I would say.
Wow.
Like probably 8 years maybe. And I love when I see, oh, my God, I got to tune in to Ernesto's show. And, so I really enjoy listening to it. I don't know the Uranian astrology side of it because that's, like, very technical, but still, I like to listen to your conversations because I learn a lot.
Good. Excellent.
Well, when I was younger, when I was first getting into this, even, when Veretta was still a thought in my life, like at that point, I used to listen to a lot of these types of, shows like Hay House Radio at that point in time used to be free. It wasn't a subscriber membership like it is now. So like I would be able to pick up, like a lot of major mainstream, like spiritual authors. And I would love to listen to their call-in shows. I would never get through because it was always too busy. They always had too much of a following. But, I would sit there and I'd make breakfast or, like I'd do some cleaning in the background. And I just like listening to this type of radio, especially when you're in a point in life when you're trying to expand your horizons and become more open-minded to things like this. And, like you're just wanting to learn how to live better. There's a learning curve. And the unfortunate reality is that, our society isn't really built for people to harvest these types of skills or to really practice them. I mean, you're either born into this or you're not, and then if you want to get into it, there's probably a lot of hesitation just because society conditions us to believe that this is new age, this is freaky, this is witchcraft, like I don't want to walk into that, to that metaphysical bookstore and then have everybody stare at me. Like that's weird. That makes me uncomfortable. That's where most people are. So, it really does mean a lot that, you really enjoy listening to us. It's one of the reasons why we do the show, to have to come out here and to raise everybody's awareness, because the one thing that I've really noticed here, and I'm trying to figure out how to make the most sense out of this, is that pretty much everybody who calls the show, even you, when you first came to us at the beginning, everybody was always kind of stuck in unpleasant situations, like we're maybe not necessarily unpleasant, but, like nobody was really living their best life. That there was definitely some room for improvement that could be done. And that's one of the things that we've really worked on here, is to make sure that everybody can live their best life. And, that you do have the knowledge and skill set to be able to make that happen. So, thank you so much for being a subscriber. It really does mean a lot to us. We're getting really busy. This is all coming in really fast now. So we just had somebody new from caller 604. So again, Dion, thank you so much for giving us a call today. We'll catch up with you next time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Have a great week. Until next time. Blessings. Okay, and we're going to get to area code 604. Here we go. Hi, you're on Celestial Intersections Radio.
Hello.
May I have your name and date of birth?
I'm Ed Charlene, and my date of birth is August 31st, 62.
That was Charlene?
That's correct.
And that was 8/31/62.
62, yes.
And at what time were you born, Charlene?
1850,
And where were you born?
Prince George.
What state is that?
British Columbia.
Oh, British Columbia. Okay.
It's in Canada.
Okay. All right. Got it. Prince George. Fingers crossed. This atlas is so spotty sometimes. It's not always there. Oh, no. Good. Great. I'm so glad you're there. Perfect. All right. And Charlene, would you like a general reading today, or do you have a question about an issue?
No, you know what? Go ahead. Yeah, general's fine. See what spirit brings me.
Okay. All right. Greta, what you got?
Okay, Charlene. Well, I have to say right off the bat, your intuition is intact, whether you're a professional psychic or not. You could be. I feel like there's also a sense of change coming for you. It may even be as recently as yesterday or the day before. I feel like there's an unsettling or rattling of your foundation that's going to make you completely revamp yourself, completely look at your reality differently. I feel like there's also, it's going to be positive in the long run, but it may not look that way initially. It may have been created due to duress, So just know that it is time for change to come. It is time for you to revamp or rebrand yourself. And traditionally, that would be where work is concerned. But in this case, it's personally as well. And I feel like after you really have a different discovery, because you're pretty aware, you've self-explored, you've got a lot going on as far as your ideology, your knowledge of self. And I want to say that there's more to come, and it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks if you don't open your mind to it, which I think you do. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for you. I also feel like it's going to change what you've done traditionally. It's going to change how you look at life or how you view your work or how you view your personal relationships. And then what's to come, once you evaluate that and let go of what really just isn't working, holy cow, are you in for some productive, positive outpouring of love experiences. If you're not writing yet, you should be, at least keeping notes for what's to come. If your creative thought seems to be shifting, then don't worry about it. It's not lost. It's just going to get better. You're going to add something to it. And I feel like there are relationships or personal relationships that you've had that maybe wandered off. That's going to come back in line for you. So you've got a lot of change coming. It's like I said, I feel like it's already started, and you feel that unsettled motion right now, but it's all good. It's all good. Don't bulldog down and grab everything you can to hold your spot. This space for you is over. So work through the trepidation, work through the unsettled feelings, work through the hesitancy because, oh my God, I've got everything I want right here. Why would I want to change it? Work through that, because what's going to replace that, what's going to come is phenomenal. So let's hope that Ernesto can pull something in your chart up and run with that.
Yeah.
Say that last sentence again. Sorry, I didn't catch that last sentence.
I just said, let's see if Ernesto can pull your chart up.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, hi.
No worries.
Okay, all right. So, Charlene, I'm taking a look at your chart. Is it? Veretta I think she's on point about the psychic stuff. Do you work as a psychic? What do you do? What is it that you do with intuition?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I would consider myself an activator. So I work as an intuitive, and
That's good.
But you really and truly, I'm an activator. Wherever I walk, it's like there's vortexes that it probably is for everybody. It's just that mine is powerful. I'm here to assist humanity in a massive way. So
because you are at the point in life. I want to say it's going to be in about like 6 months, right when this. Where I have my pointer right now on the screen, I'm going to put an orange box around that. When this mature, and it's kind of a large box, when that Aries point, that's your solar arc sun, that's your soul as you aged out in the world. So this is you today. When that matures to be, exactly 60 degrees, that'll be in about 6 months or so. That's going to be when a lot of your chart is really just going to kind of take a new direction because, your soul, yourself, you're moving from, this very fixed, you're in a fixed period right now of 50 degrees and 59 degrees and 30 minutes. That means that everything is very fixed, everything is very stable. And, it's just kind of like this, it's foundation. It's kind of where you're at right now. But that foundation is coming to an end. Everything you've set up over the past 30 years in this cycle here, that's all being ready to be moved into fruition now. So, this is where all of the fruits of your hard labor are going to pay off. And, you're going to notice that in about 6 months. I think it's going to be pretty significant. This would speak to me like either that you would have extreme joy and happiness and success through retirement. That would be one potential option if you're looking at that at all, just calling it quits and saying, I want to enjoy my best life and just and only focus on the things that I really want, the things that really matter, and maybe work 2 hours a day kind of thing, but it's not work because I enjoy it anyway. That's one option that you're heading into. Or the other option is, as Veretta was saying, a total rebranding to where like your current level of work and like what you do with spirituality, it basically just goes on steroids. It's kind of like we're looking at like book deals and publishing and big stuff. Like really, it would be things that are probably going to be so big to chew off that it may not be physically possible to complete in this lifetime. This may actually just be, a preview of the good stuff that's to come in the life ahead. So I think that could be the other end of this. So, you've got two ends of the pole there for that piece of Veretta. Do you think it's more of the retirement, or do you think it's more of the publishing stuff?
I don't think it's retirement at all. I think it's the activation of what she's referring to and the change for humanity that's going to come. Now, the thing that I'm also seeing in the rebranding is she's really going to have to, I don't know, I want to say help herself, protect herself from what we were talking about, people that would take advantage of that, or just ride her coattails. So I feel like the publishing needs to come as an after fact, like when it's all said and done. And she's not going to be all said and done for any time soon, but it does seem to me like taking notes right now, or talking on a platform publicly, getting on talk shows, or being in a position to represent herself in what she does for large groups of people is in her future. And I feel like she kind of already does that, but behind the scenes. Like maybe she talks to people on YouTube, or maybe she talks to people on the radio like we are. But I'm talking about in front of a large group, masses of people, allowing them to understand what is to come and being there and facilitating the energy that's about to shift humanity's reality. Now, again, I have to say, the crumbling of the foundation of now is what's going to hurt, because she already has an established foundation. So that's where it could be let go of what she knows right now and go ahead and become more fluid, etherical, if you will, and be in many places at many times, all at once, if you can understand that. And I know you can, Charlene. So, publishing is going to be a big deal.
Thank you. I know I've decided, I just realized in the last, my mom passed in September, so I just realized in the last couple of months how I'm going to approach what I do, because I could never quite, I couldn't tabulate it.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to do a website that will be, I'm really excited about it. The ego part is not that important to me. It's not about me. It's about helping people. It's just why I'm here. Right. Exactly. So I have a question to ask that's the big concern. So because of everything, I think that's probably the biggest concern. My children are my Achilles heels. And my son.
Okay, that's what I meant about relationships. Those are exactly who I was saying when I said some relationships that wandered off are coming back around. That's exactly who I saw.
Okay. Do you see my son is the one that I'm really, because he's had, and I feel he's supposed to work with me. I'm 100% sure he's supposed to work with me. My concern is because he's struggling so much, like he's just kind of completing his first Saturn return, but it's not exactly like that, just the way it works. But I'm just really concerned that he's going to pull through this and make it okay and turn his life the direction he needs to, because right now he's literally almost, you could almost see him drowning in quicksand, right, with his mirrors issues that he's facing, right?
I totally understand that. I've got children exactly the same in a manner.
I'm really sorry. we should never have to have that. We have to let them do their own thing.
You know what?
Too.
It's part of the deal, right? It's part of the package we signed up for before we got here. And
Yeah.
the reality of it is, because our children choose us, we know they chose us to be able to do what we need to do. Now, here's the thing about him working with you. I don't know that he will, but I think the best that you can expect, and remember what I said about expectations, what you can hope for, and just pose yourself in the position of being, is a monitor for him to learn from you,
Okay.
to learn, and then he will start to share the work probably after you're gone. So that's why I'm saying I don't think he's going to work with you, honey, but he's most definitely going to learn from you and forward it on, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and Charlene, I just want to add to that
Don't get,
about your son. You know, there's your what's interesting is that your son actually comes into the same access point when it comes to the question about change. So, and then when you look at the planets regarding your son, then that also deals with your work, and that also deals with your success. So your son is, you know, like a catalyst in that whole process, if you want to look at this from an alchemical perspective. So what I want to let you know though is that, you know, that you have that that relationship has the potential to be really amazing or really sour, you know, and it can flip very fast, you know, and that's just a thing. I think that if you introduce him, you know, like more of the creative elements of things, you know, more things that speak to his way of life, you know, to say, I think that working together might be a possibility in that regard, but it's gonna have to speak to him, because if it doesn't, if it's something that's totally unknown, like, he's just gonna say, you can go screw yourself, because this isn't what I want to do with my life right now. But if you can work that into his, you know, into his own interests, then, you know, he will be all for that, and it'll be a very pleasant relationship between the two of you. So that's kind of what your chart says about the two of you together and that potential for work.
yeah. Essentially, he's anti-mom right now, but that will change, Charlene.
Okay.
That will change.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
he's got to get rid he's got to get
we're-
rid of the people in his life. You know, there's like some not great players that,
He sure does.
and you know,
Yeah.
he's making, you know, he's making those separations, but it could not move any slower. Let me just say that.
Right?
Yeah, it's quite painful.
Hang in
That's
there,
an
though.
understatement.
Hang in there, though. You got to keep remembering the bigger picture, that he chose you, and at some point in time, he'll come back around, but it won't be at your bidding. It'll be when he's ready.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And it's
Yep.
probably better that way. I want to share with you, because you'll just find it fascinating. I think he picked his birth name and his birth time, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I mean, I think we all do, but he calls himself Zach 24/7, and he was born at 2:47 in the morning. And I wanted him on and I really wanted him on a different day, but he came the following day, and literally, right as as something just as the planet moved from Gemini to Cancer, he was born at that minute. It was quite funny.
Wow.
And he was early. The girls were late, and it was he's quite spectacular as inside and out. But in a difficult time, you guys, that was thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, it was great to have you on the show, Charlene. Thanks for choosing us. It really means a lot that you picked us out of the nearly million of shows that they have on this network here. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and come back to us in the future and let us know how it turns out.
Oh yes, please.
I will.
Yes,
yeah, I'm flagging you guys here so I make sure I can keep up with it, because it's nice. It's very nice.
Every Wednesday and Sunday, you'll find us.
Yeah, we'll be back on.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, we'll be back Wednesday evening. So we'll catch up with you real soon. Take care, and until next time.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much, both of you.
Blessings.
Blessings. Okay, and we have another caller here that popped up from area code 602. Hi, you're on Celestial Intersections Radio. May I have your name and date of birth, please? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I guess they were just listening. We just lost them. Dang. So, yeah, I guess they were embarrassed.
602 is our...
I know, that's our stomping grounds, right?
Area. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I guess they were embarrassed and didn't want to give out all their stuff. Well, we are working on that, believe it
No
or
worries.
trying to figure out some options that you guys can work with us a little bit more semi-privately, so you don't have to let it all hang out there and let the whole goddamn internet know, your date of birth and all of that stuff, because some people are like
where
that,
you were born.
So we're working on
Well,
that.
and it's also a privacy. It's a privacy thing where if they're giving all that info out and somebody's wanting to hack or get into their identity theft and all that crud, that's a thing.
Yeah, and we don't want to be harbingers of fraud here on this network, right?
No,
So
that's most definite.
they just popped back in, so we'll try this again. So we're going to catch up with area code 602 here. If you don't want to speak to us, you're just listening, just hit a key on your touch tone phone to let us know, and then we'll go ahead and move on. So we're going to catch up with area code 602. Hi, you're on the air with us. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, I do hear you. Sorry about the
no worries. May I have your name, please?
Name is Wesley.
Okay, Wesley, and perfect.
What? My full name?
Yeah. No. First name is just fine. And what is your date of birth?
February 18, 1959.
Okay, and at what time were you born?
2:17 p.m.
And where were you born?
In Orange, New Jersey.
Okay. All right. And Wesley, happy birthday, by the way. I know we just now missed that. But what I'd like to know is, would you have a question for us today, or would you just like a general reading?
I'd like a general reading, please. I've hit my 64, and just anything that might come in.
Okay, and then just one more time, you were born in Orange, New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I got it. Beretta, what you got for Wesley here?
Let me turn on. Wesley, do I know you?
Yes, you do. You know my wife better than me, but right. you definitely know me, Beretta. Yeah.
Thank you. I tuned in and immediately this familiar energy swept over me like, I know this person. All right, so let's do general. Yes, and happy birthday. Definitely happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm loving your show, guys. It's real cool.
Aw, thank you. Okay, so as I tune in, you've got a move coming, not in a literal sense that you're going to have to pack your household up and move, but you've got a move of energy that says you're going to be transporting yourself in other places. So let me define what I mean by that. Even though you're going to be home a great deal, you're also not going to be home a great deal. And I feel like this transportation is not just physical, it's etherically. And I feel like you're also going to have downloads, and you're already actually started. I'm being told you're already actually starting to have downloads of information. Recently, it's leaving you with either a coordinate or giving you some kind of idea of what's to come. And you have... And you get this often, apparently, and you have some choices to make about whether or not you want to be doing this traveling. And it's not a deal breaker if you say no, but if you say yes, you're probably going to be out more than you are home. And it may affect everything else you've got going on around you, but it's not going to damage it. It just means that and you're versed at juggling, so this isn't a bad thing. It just means that you're going to be pretty busy coordinating what you're doing and all the things around you that need your input as well. I also feel like this next year, so we're into February, March, April, May. May is when all this starts. June, July, August, September, October, November. October, November, you're hustling. And if you don't arrange or do what you need to prior to October, November, you're going to be hustling more than you need to. So I feel like that may correspond with your other activities that you have going on business-wise. And it may be that you just need to like get your ducks in a row, Get everything lined up that you need to have lined up before that happens, so you're not so stressed and spread so thin. Now, and the reason I say that is because if you spread yourself that thin, I see your health coming into question. And even though you've got a lot of energy right now, you are going to be pretty busy after May. From May to July is where you're, I want to say, absorbing or learning or participating in something that it's what you want. It's absolutely what you, and it's information you have to continue on doing this. And so from May to July, you're pretty consumed with this other thing. And then from July to October is when you have the time to get your ducks in a row. And so you'll have a little bit of downtime or warning. You'll also, after July or around July, actually you're going to do it in May, but around July, you will apply your own schedule. You will do your own thing, not do your own thing like you're away from what you're doing, but like you're calling your own shots. When you say, I need time off for this, you get to have, you're honored enough to have that time off. So have suitcases ready because you are going to be traveling. It is going to be something that you want. You're most definitely going to be learning as you go. The benefit of it is beyond monetary. It's exponential in what you're going to be learning. And so beef up your immune system, take your vitamin C and your whatever a lot prior to the May time frame so that you're not depleted and you're weary and you're tired and you don't want to go. The other thing I'm going to tell you about this as well, Wesley, is so it's almost like you're going to want to write down a lot of this information that comes to you to put it in a book or put it in a factor that can be shared with others. The minute I saw that and then started to relay that information to you, I want to say be very careful about who you tell this to, because they're going to be, I don't know, what do I want to say? They're going to want you to include them. They're going to want to be a primary source of information. They're going to want to influence it somehow, and that should not happen.
Does the book that you're referring to,
that
you're referring to, does that book or project, do you think that might be an invention or a schematic of some kind?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. But it's not something you should share with absolutely anybody at all.
Wow.
So
if
you've got info on that, Ernesto, go ahead and give him more detail.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some stuff, Wesley, like that. Like you're an inventor or, because there's some stuff, if you're watching our YouTube stream, I'm going to highlight it here in your chart. What's really interesting to me is like this whole cluster of planets. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planets that are all clustered within like about 5 or 7 degrees of each other. So, that's some really intense energy that's happening in this axis point of your chart. When I break this all down to see a little bit more about what's happening, to look at just the very center of all of that, then what happens, it reveals a whole bunch of information about work, communication, some changes, your personal success, and, to be an authority or to be a master at it. So, and this is going to involve your livelihood. So, I mean, these are all things that are immediate standouts that I can see in your chart here. And because, we're talking about, this is probably also going to have to do with corporations and things that are going to affect masses of people, like consumerism types things. Why do I know that? Apollon, which has to do with business, economy, commerce. We've also got Venus, which is nice things. And that can also just have to do with, that's a money planet in some ways, especially since we're combining it with a commerce planet here. So, these things are all happening here in your chart, and this is happening obviously out in the world. So this is affecting you. But where I'm going with this is we're looking at this midpoint here that I have in your chart. It's about like 45, 43 was what I had earlier. And that's going to be at the middle of both of the circles, and they're going to be in separate colors here, just so you can see it a little bit easier. But we've got one in green and we've got one in orange. But both of those converge here at about the center of this. And when we look at that, what the, that's speaking to this year, this is going to be a thing for you, that that you're going to have some returns on this. So I do think that, like looking at at a different view, that it would definitely be something that you don't want to share, as Veretta's mentioning, that that this has the potential to be ripped off if it falls into the wrong hands. But you would absolutely benefit from it in a really good way, and this would take care of you and your family and for many generations to come. I think that this is definitely something that needs to be taken seriously, and like those aha moments are absolutely going to be coming to you. Something you've never really thought about, and it will just come out of the blue. It will truly be a gift from spirit, and believe me when I use those exact words, because that's referring to the process of, I don't know how I got this. It's truly like it came from Santa Claus. Like Uranian Astrology, the really good stuff explaining how to do this work, I channeled. I don't know where it came from. And then what was absolutely terrifying was, I had a friend of mine who sent me a link to a website where Ruth Brummond herself, one of the founding members, did like this really complicated example, of the math behind everything. And I just thought, so I've seen this before, but I did it myself when spirit taught me, because like, while human beings first taught me how to do this work, at the end of the day, spirit was my teacher. Like all of my guides and all of the ascended masters that are up there helping me, like they're the ones, they're the true teachers and heroes in this whole process. And I think that you're going to have that similar type of experience with an invention or a schematic or something along those lines, and that's going to be coming up soon here. I want to say like between 6 to 12 months is going to be when you're really going to start to get some inspiration and ideas in that regard. That'll be when the creation process really is finished, probably in about a year or so. And I don't think that are you working right now?
I work part time. I retired from a corporate job a year ago, and I've got a business with my son that I do part time work with.
Okay, so I do see you working more with that also. I don't think that that you're going to want to really let your work slide by the wayside. That's also going to be a constant in your life, and probably, if anything, one of the things that you can really call on for help in this whole process. It's, if you're, whenever you're drawing a blank, or you're wanting some inspiration, your son is the person who's the catalyst in all of this, the activator, who helps you with these matters that are happening up in your mind. So that's going to be the positive end of things. Cool. Is focus more on that. Go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's great. And I love travel. Like I've always aligned or been attracted to the word a traveler or a wanderer. I think that my primary kind of identification, even before I was very spiritual, was that I was a wanderer. Not that I had been. I'm a father and a kind of, but I had traveled in work quite a bit, and the etheric travel in receiving messages is something I cherish. So. That'd be great.
Yay.
Well, Wesley, it was great to have you on the show. So glad that you picked us tonight or this morning and to come out here. We'll be back again on Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. if you want to listen to us next time. But be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Right
Many
on.
blessings, Wesley.
Thanks, Veretta and Ernesto. Blessings to both of you as well.
Many blessings. Take care, Eddie. Until next time.
Bye.
Okay, we do want to thank all of our guests for joining us here today. We're going to go ahead and close out the show. We have about 8 minutes to spare, so I guess that extra 30 minutes I throw in there for going over really does help us out here. As always, thank you so much for everybody. This has been Celestial Intersections Radio, where science meets spirit. For all other things Uranian Astrology, be sure to check out eastrologer.tv, and you can find Veretta at verettavision.com. We'll be back with you guys on Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. for an hour-long show. And hopefully I can get my Google Workspace out of timeout, so that way I can start sending mass emails, since when you let your accounts expire, companies then own all of your private information, and even begging on your knees doesn't really get it back. So don't ever let that happen, you guys. It's just not worth it.
Many blessings, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We enjoy speaking, and we hope you enjoyed listening.
Yep, we really appreciate your listenership, and be sure to subscribe, like, and share. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Until Wednesday night, good luck and Godspeed.
Bye-bye.